Good evening, meteorologist Bob here for you with today's tropical update for Thursday, July 25th, 2013. Yes, I haven't disappeared, just been away, vacation, good stuff like that. So I'm back hitting you with some tropical updates now. And today we have Tropical Storm Dorian to talk about as of 5 p.m. Maximum sustained winds still at 60 miles an hour. We have movement west-northwest at 18 and minimum central pressure estimated at 999 millibars. So here's the 5 p.m. Forecast track here by the National Hurricane Center. Nothing to disagree with here at all. Models are very tightly clustered right from here through this track here through days 4 and 5. The big question mark is after this. You can almost put a little question mark right in this area here of where it's going to go. And I'll kind of give you some thoughts on that in a minute. They keep it as a just under hurricane force here through the period, and it would not surprise me if we get our first hurricane of the season by the weekend in here, because there's really nothing, especially in the next 3 to 4 days, there's really, next 2 to 3 days going into the weekend, there's really nothing to stop this from slowly strengthening. It's not going to be explosive strengthening by no means. There's still a lot of dry air out there, which I'll show you in a minute. But slow strengthening, it's definitely a nice organized small system. It wouldn't be out of the realm to see this become a hurricane right in here. And then folks here in the northern Leeward Islands, especially U.S. British Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, will need to watch this system carefully as we move into later this week and into early next week. So that's what we have here now. Let me show you the visible satellite loop real quick here. And you can see earlier today it looked like, wow, looked like maybe the low-level center was going to outrace the convection, but then all of a sudden we had a nice blow-up of convection right near the center of circulation today. So a nice, small, healthy system, still maintaining itself and probably getting a little stronger. You know, probably 60 miles an hour might have been a little underestimate there. Might be bumping this up as the night goes along if it continues to slowly strengthen here. It's been really doing a good job. It's really past the cooler waters. Now it's going to start going back into those warmer waters for the next couple days. And again, looking here, you saw that little burst of convection near the center earlier today, this afternoon. And that has really nice little healthy system going on here. And you can see the dry air that's associated with this system has really kind of scoured out in front of it. This was a much bigger area a few days ago. And these little systems really do well with dry air. Now, they don't do well with shear, and that's something I'm going to show you here in a second. Might be its problem here in about 4 or 5 days. But dry air, they do pretty well with it. Don't really suck in a lot of that dry air, and you can see it getting a little larger here, and really out in front of it here, really kind of knocking off that dry air. So, but again, it is pretty dry coming up here in the next couple days. So I don't see explosive strengthening here, but I would definitely bet on a slow strengthening process. Now you see what's out here. This is what we're going to watch for shear. This is a nice tut feature right here, just north of Hispaniola and Puerto Rico. And this is where the shear is. Where this tut feature is going to go is really going to tell us if this system's going to maintain itself as it nears the islands here. If this tut feature sits here and maybe just moves a little west but maintains that shear, then a small system like this is going to get eaten apart as it gets closer to the islands here. Right now, a lot of the models are saying there's going to be a lot of shear, especially the GFS and the European model are saying shear is going to knock this thing down. So that's what we're really going to have to watch for, is the shear in the 4 to 5 day period, and will this system then weaken? And again, a very unknown right now, because there are some models that say no, but again, right now the GFS and the Europeans say yes. Okay. And look at this. This was a little trim from the Navy here, showing. Look at this. Maybe even a little eye forming here. Looked like we had a mid-level eye. Now I might be getting a little low-level eye starting to form here. So definitely a very healthy system. And this was the shear again. So here is Dorian right now. And not going to be much shear here in the next few days. But then where will this tut feature go? It is forecast to definitely drift off to the west a bit. But how far west does it go? And And that's really going to be the key, is how much shear will be on Dorian as we get closer to the islands here in north of Puerto Rico. Again, what's steering this system? A lot of people like to watch this. Well, here's our trough along the east coast. Here's our subtropical high. This high is going to move along with Dorian. And actually, Dorian will probably start moving more. It looks like it's moving more. They said west-northwest on the advisory. It almost looks a little more west. Maintain that westward motion for the next few days. Here's our trough. This trough is going to lift a little bit in the next few days or so, and actually back a little further to the west. So a little bit of lift and a little bit of west, but there's still going to be that weakness as Dorian gets into this area. So depending, and it really is going to depend, I say this a lot of times, how strong will Dorian be in here? A weak Dorian could continue to move west in that low-level easterly flow. A little stronger Dorian will feel that trough more and start hooking. And again, where does that hook? So strength is going to have a lot to do with this as well. And we see that. Well, first let's look, sorry, I was jumping ahead of myself. Let's look at some of these are 18Z models. Again, tightly clustered here, north of the islands. North of the islands, tightly clustered. The GFS ensembles today, again, tightly clustered. They did move a little farther west today and maybe a tiny bit south, but still pretty much clustered here. And then you can see towards the end here, I would discount this. I would erase all of this here. It's not going to do this, but if it's strong enough, will it do something like this? Will it come more towards Florida? Will it sneak under Florida? If it's weaker, it could just continue west here. We may not see anything out of this. It might even run into the islands and be done. And that is what the latest, if we put this in motion here. Hang on a second, I'm a little ahead of ourselves here. I should have started a little quicker. All right, okay, here we go. Let's put this into motion here, and we'll see where, here's Dorian, and this is the GFS model today. The first one run on the big supercomputer. So the new supercomputer here with the GFS, and it runs it right into Hispaniola and dissipates it. Now, a little different than the ensembles were. If we looked at the ensembles, it keeps it more north here. So we'll see what happens here. But that's the new supercomputer GFS. Probably still the same garbage that it usually. I'm not a big GFS fan a lot of times. But we'll see what happens. And then we have the Canadian model. Canadian model, very interesting here. Again, kind of weakens it. We'll see, here comes Dorian right here. Weakens Dorian through the Bahamas. And then goes through the Straits again as a weak system and then into the Gulf. Again, very weak. And again, weaker would mean more west with this system. But also why things went more west, if we look at the ensembles, this is the Canadian ensembles here, the 500 millibars. If you were looking at this yesterday, which if you have nothing to do like the rest of us weather geeks, you might have been looking at this yesterday, but the Canadian had a stronger trough in here. You see it kind of lifts this trough out a little bit, kind of flattens things out more. And we even see that in the GFS ensembles today as well. Not as strong of a trough here. Here's Dorian right here, or would be Dorian. And then here's our trough. So again, kind of lifts it out a little bit. A little flatter trough today. And again, I don't think it's going to be as flat as these models are predicting. I still think we're going to see it in here. We've seen it all summer. And it should be enough of a weakness if Dorian is strong enough to pull it up, you know, some kind of hook here. If you look at why this has been happening all summer, this is very, now these are sea surface temperature anomalies. So if you see the blue around here, it doesn't mean these waters are cold. It just means for normal, you need the anomalies, what you know, as far as what normal would be. So we are a little cooler than normal right around the Gulf and Florida here along the southeast coast, but still water temperatures well above normal. I mean, are 80 degrees and warmer, except right near the east coast of Florida. So they will sustain a tropical system and a hurricane. But look how much warmer these waters are here off the east coast. And this will be a little telling later in the season if we get a system to come up the east coast. And it could be kind of troubling for a system as it moves up the east coast later in the season. So we'll have to be watching that. But what's happening here, this is helping to really kind of create more of a ridging here in this area and more of a troughiness in this area. And we've seen this most of the summer. And all you have to do is be living here in Florida and seeing how much rain we've been getting all summer and how much cooler the temperatures have been to know there's been a trough here. So this is going to be interesting. This is going to steer a lot of our systems up towards us. And that's why there's been some worry about how many systems we will get this season. And that's really something to watch, and something we're going to be watching for Dorian as well. And then if we look finally at the intensity models, probably the most, these intensity models I'm not a big fan of either. But probably the best one is the LGEM model. And here it is showing slow strengthening. And then everything then starts to weaken it a little bit again as we get towards some of that shear maybe down in the 4 to 5 day period. But again, slow strengthening. And again, most of the models do keep it right under that category 1 system there. So again, let's just go back some of my reasonings here. I know this is a little long, but again, I concur with the National Hurricane Center track here. I don't see any reason to deviate from this. Definitely models are in very good agreement. The two things we'll have to look for: will the shear knock it down as it gets right into this area in the day 4 to 5 forecast? If it's weaker, it could move further west, or it could just die. We saw that with Chantal. Or if it's a little stronger in here and that shear isn't as strong, then we'll be a little stronger. And then will we get the hook? Will we get that curve? And where will it go? So again, we're a good 7 days out from even affecting anywhere across the United States. No worries right now, just something to watch for. I will have more updates during this week as we go along. Thanks for listening. Again, if you want to follow me on YouTube, I'm there, Robert Acanfrio, Weather Guy 03. Facebook, Robert Acanfrio as well, Acanfrio. Have a good day.